Alright YouTube, so bringing you guys another news roundup for Fallout 76, and we also kind of have some just general Bethesda information. Some of this information comes from just random different sources, but of course, you guys already know, you're begging for it, you're asking for it. I have some Pete's tweets, don't worry about it. I know a lot of you were scared out there thinking that maybe David has finally stopped stalking Pete Hines on Twitter, and I'd love nothing more than to quit checking his social medias like I'm some crazy ex-boyfriend, but where else am I going to get info? So first up, some information that I actually mentioned in my last video. I just want to throw it out there again really quickly. For those of you on Xbox, if you pre-ordered Fallout 76, I believe only digitally, you can already pre-download the beta. Now, I've heard it's only digitally. I have no idea if that's 100% true. What you can do is just go to the Microsoft Store on your Xbox, search Fallout 76, and the Fallout 76 beta should pop up, and you should be able to pre-download it. So on to some Pete's tweets, and first up, this is kind of a continuation of yesterday's video, and kind of potentially makes my last video pointless, but it looks like we might not be getting any more stress tests, maybe at all. So there's been a few people who asked Pete Hines on Twitter about future stress tests, like specifically on Xbox, but more generally, if there's going to be like any stress tests at all, and one question actually about PC. And he just replies with this quoted tweet that I've showed you guys in yesterday's video, Bethesda thanking everybody for the stress test, and prepping for the beta on Xbox One. So specifically this one right here at the end, this guy, asked, waiting for any news on a PC stress test like, and Pete Hines replies with just that tweet. I never really thought about it until now looking at this tweet, but it seems like a definitive statement. Like, thank you for those who have taken the time to provide their feedback from the Fallout 76 stress test. Speaking of the stress test definitively, as if it's the only one. They never mentioned that there's going to be any more, so I don't know if there's going to be any more. Like, until Pete Hines responded to people's question about future stress tests with this specific tweet, I never read it in this way, where it actually is kind of worded like that was the only stress test there was going to be. And if that ends up being the case, that would actually contradict a tweet that I've showed you guys a few times, like the day that the Xbox One stress test happened, where they talked about next scheduled stress tests. If there ends up not being any more, that'd be Bethesda actually being deceptive and lying to the consumers. Because with a tweet like that, people would be inclined to place their pre-order if they have not already, in hopes that they could get into a stress test and play the game earlier than other people. But if there's not another stress test, that'd be Bethesda lying and just trying to boost pre-sales. So kind of like yesterday's video, I'm not sure what to believe here, but with today's information, the information I have now, I kind of feel like there's just not going to be any more stress tests at all. For those of you out there who have been waiting on your beta code to be sent out, it's going to happen sometime pretty damn soon. I'd imagine within the next couple of days. Like, it has to happen pretty damn quickly because the beta is within a few days. And imagine that you guys on PC and PS4 would get your codes or whatever, like sometime pretty close to y'all's beta around the 30th. Well, actually, I don't know if PC needs a beta code since it's through the Bethesda launcher. I don't know anything about that stuff. And kind of just like as a side note, just my personal thoughts really quickly, I understand that a lot of people out there probably want a physical copy of the game. But this is part of the reason why I pre-ordered the game digitally on my console, so I don't have to deal with this stuff. Like, I'm not sitting around waiting for Bethesda to send me a code. Like, I just download the beta and play it on the 23rd. Next up, we actually got to look at some of the items you'll get with the Tricentennial Edition of Fallout 76, and it kind of comes from a weird source. It comes from a Twitter account called Game Burton on Trent. No idea, never heard of them. They're just some random gaming news site and news Twitter, and somehow they have some of the items. I don't know what's going on. Right here we get a look at the power armor paint that you get with Tricentennial Edition. I don't know what we're looking at here, if it's multiple different power armor paints, or if it's the same power armor paint, but maybe it is different on different sets of power armor. Not entirely sure. Next up we have the Vault Boy mascot head, which actually looks kind of cool, and it's not as bad as I would have thought previously, simply because we know now that you can wear like outfits and clothing over your actual armor, but not actually lose your armor rating. So cosmetically, this could be kind of funny to wear around, and you won't actually be like losing your helmet or whatever. Right here we have the Uncle Sam outfit and the in-game photo frame, because obviously it's 2018 and every game has a photo mode. This is, hit or miss depending on what you like. The quality's kind of ass, but I had to save the images from a GIF, so it's really like shitty. And lastly, we have the weapon skins that you get, which on the laser rifle and the 10mm pistol actually looks kind of cool if I'm honest. When it comes to the hatchet, it's just like an imprint into the steel of the blade. It's not actually a weapon skin necessarily, which to me is not that cool. There's also the additional emote, which I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but who really cares anyway, and the workshop posters, so I'm guessing there wasn't any images of this stuff, which is kind of odd. I don't know how they have images of the other things, but not these two. I mean, do we even need to have a discussion about this? It really goes without saying that the items you're getting with the Tricentennial Edition are not worth the extra $20. Maybe some people out there don't care, maybe $20 is nothing to a lot of people, but I just would not have wasted my money on this. It never seemed interesting to me. You got a description of what... We knew everything that was going to be in the Tricentennial Edition. We didn't have images of it, but we still knew everything that was coming in it. And it still never felt like it was worth $20 to me. And even now, seeing it, still does not feel like it's worth $20. And look, I don't mean to sound like I'm bashing you guys out there that purchased this. If you're happy with the purchase, that's all that really matters. But to me, it seemed like it wasn't worth it. To me, I would have preferred exclusive items, which I know is kind of the bad side of microtransactions. But if there was an exclusive weapon or exclusive armor within this, that's a little more incentive to buy it. But again, that turns into some shady territory, so whatever. So next up, I made a video the other day about whether or not Fallout 76 was lore breaking, and one of the topics in that video is about the Brotherhood of Steel being in the game. And much to all of our surprise, Bethesda actually commented on this. The actual Fallout Twitter tweeted out about this specifically. November 2077, a month after the Great War, Army Captain Roger Maxson arrived with survivors at the Californian bunker of Lost Hills. There he formed the Brotherhood of Steel, who used a functioning satellite to extend their reach across America, all the way to Appalachia. Now, I've seen some mixed responses to this. I feel like I've seen more positive stuff about it, like people being like, okay, finally we have an explanation, that's all that really matters, or people are like, man, I didn't really want the Brotherhood of Steel to be in the game, but at least there's an explanation now and it makes sense. And like I said in my video about the lore-breaking stuff, Bethesda was going to explain how they'd be in the game. It doesn't really matter what your thoughts are on it, because they can do what they want, and whatever they say becomes the lore, becomes the canon, and you kind of just have to accept it. I have seen and heard some YouTubers talk about this. Maddie, for example, was pretty vocal when this first came out. He drops a tweet that says, "So Bethesda put out their explanation for why the Brotherhood are in Fallout 76. For fuck's sake, man, just leave them out of the game. Understand it has been addressed that there is a gap that they could fit in, albeit a big stretch, but rather new factions to learn about." I also seen Juicehead's video where he talked about this, and he was actually saying that it was a good explanation, it makes sense, but was also kind of in agreement with Maddie that they wanted new factions to learn about instead. Which I find to be kind of dumb on both of their parts, because we have already learned about a new faction in the game in Flatwoods called the Responders. But it's also just kind of dumb in general because the game lacks human NPCs, so could you ever really flesh out a new faction that well without having other characters to talk to? I mean, we've got a decent look at the Responders so far in Fallout 76, and it's not that interesting of a faction, so do you really want more of that? Epoxy actually addressed this on Twitter very well, a YouTuber that I actually follows, so I'll just read his tweet. "For the people saying they wanted new factions instead of Brotherhood of Steel, why? So you could hear about how dead they are? Fallout 76 has no NPCs. Do you really want to learn about a new big faction through notes and holotapes?" I think his tweet addresses the situation pretty well, because it doesn't make sense to introduce several new factions when everybody in West Virginia in Fallout 76 is dead. So you're gonna have 2, 3, 4 new factions, but they all died out. How fucking stupid is that? It makes more sense to have factions that have an already established history. You know about the Brotherhood of Steel. You know what they're all about. You do not need them explained to you. I don't know, man. I've already kind of, talked about this in a separate video, dedicated most of that video to this actual subject, and I've already put enough time about this in this one video. Let's just move on. The next thing we're going to talk about, I don't even know if it's really info, but the Fallout Twitter tweeted out today about something from the game and kind of insinuated, human NPCs. So they actually tweeted out this picture and said, "Ruthless, selfish, bloodthirsty. Since the day the bombs dropped, raiders have been the scourge of the wasteland. In Appalachia, Rose is their enigmatic leader. But who is she, and what does she hope to gain as she watches the carnage from her roost on the top of the world?" Obviously, the first response you have when you see that is, I thought there was supposed to be no human NPCs in this game, but a lot of people are saying that Rose is actually a character that's in the game, that's on the radio only. You never actually see her, and you get quests from her and do stuff for her. But again, the issue here is that they actually have a human NPC or a human character with the picture insinuating that that is actually the character of Rose, which is what has thrown people off. But other people have pointed out that the character actually has a Pip-Boy on her wrist, which would mean she's got to be a vault dweller. So more than likely it's actually some player's character model, and they're just kind of using it for the image to kind of show you what Rose would look like, I suppose. But clearly this was a mistake on their part. This was stupid, because this is a touchy subject for the game, is the lack of NPCs, and you're talking about an NPC character and giving it a character model, which is making people think that there might be human NPCs in the game when there actually isn't. It's just stupid to do. And the last thing we're going to look at is the general Bethesda news that I mentioned at the beginning. I'm kind of late to this, a couple days late, but we actually have a release window for Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. In an interview with Eurogamer, Hines was actually asked, when should we expect to hear more about Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6? And skipping all the bullshit of the paragraph, he says, it would still be about as long as you'd expect when you look at Fallout 3 to Skyrim to Fallout 4 to Fallout 76. So when you look at the releases of those games, there's about 3 to 4 years in between them, which would mean that we're not going to really be getting Starfield until about 2021 to 2022. And I say Starfield because we know that that's actually coming first before Elder Scrolls 6. But the question that Hines actually got was, when should we expect to hear more about those games? And that comes down to exactly when they would release in, say, 2021. Like, Starfield's coming out 2021. It would all depend on when exactly within that year that it's coming out to when we would hear information for it. If you look at Fallout 76, for example, it got revealed in June and it's coming out in November, 5 months later. That's Bethesda's model these days, is to kind of reveal a game and release it not too long after that. So that would all depend. If it's like early 2021 that they want to release Starfield, then we'd be getting information for that game in 2020. And if what P. Hines says here is true, and they're trying to put 3 to 4 year gap between games, that means we're not going to see Elder Scrolls 6 for a very long time, and would also mean that we're not going to see Fallout 5 for so very long. But hopefully it's not all doom and gloom. Hopefully this is just kind of like a placeholder answer. They've added a lot of studios over the past couple of months to a year, so maybe ramping up development will happen and games can start coming out sooner from Bethesda. Anyways, guys, this is a little bit longer of a video. I don't really like my videos being this damn long, so we should just kind of bring it to an end. So just let me know your thoughts below as usual. And if you guys went on to enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Turn on notifications. Follow me on Twitter at TheDashingDavid, and my Discord. Links to my social networks are in the description and in the outro. Later, guys.
Give me forever for a while, give me forever for a while. Quit acting like a baby, or at least less like a child. Give me serenity.